10th Prakarana. Vihaya Vairinam Kamam Artham Chanartha Sankulam Dharmam Apyeta Yorhetum Yorhe Sarvatrānādaram Kuru. Vihaya, having renounced. Renunciation, as I told you, I am going to emphasize it. Renunciation takes place if you see its irrelevance to your happiness. Dwell on that fact. Let the attitudes be governed by perceptions. Don't enforce an attitude on yourself, it will go. Let your understanding dictate your attitudes. Renunciation is an attitude. I don't want it is an attitude. It is one of the mental judgments, conclusions, decisions. Let your decisions, attitudes be dictated by your perceptions, understanding. If your perception is that it is irrelevant to me, constantly dwelling on that fact. If I dwell on that fact repeatedly, it will dictate my attitude. That is, I will not have attraction for it. The irrelevant never attracts us. But the irrelevant has to be understood as irrelevant. The redundant has to be understood as redundant. Therefore, Vihaya means having renounced through perception, having renounced through understanding that it is irrelevant. Vairinam. Vairina means what disturbs you is your vairi, your shatru. It disturbs you, vairinam. Any desire disturbs. Why does it disturb? Because then it gives me a struggle. Desire has its context, even though fundamentally my problem is avidya, but within the realm of avidya, what drives me is avidya gives me a sense of limitation, doesn't drive me. Avidya gives me a sense of equation with the form. It's an error. Non-understanding of the rope creates the perception of the snake. It doesn't drive me, but the fear of the snake drives me. The fear of the snake drives me. Thus the struggle, even though the fundamental reason for the fear of the snake is the snake perception, but yet what drives me is the desire. The reason for that desire is avidya, that is there. But it is always better to understand even desire is irrelevant. Why is it irrelevant? It is irrelevant because, number one, you can't fulfill desire. Not even one desire. And even if it is fulfilled once or twice, it means nothing. You are unfulfilled. Desire may be fulfilled, but you are not fulfilled. Because the problem is, our problem is not the lack of sense pleasure. Our problem is the lack of clarity about the fullness. Lack of self-knowledge. Therefore, our problem is lack of self-knowledge. Therefore, desire is not even if I fulfill a desire, 1,000 desires, it means nothing. I am not a big man. If there is somebody who has really amassed wealth, who can fulfill all his desires, etc., in empirical sense, he can achieve, it doesn't mean anything. Because the most serious problem here is, it is the wrong view about oneself. It is the wrong view. A wrong view about one's existence cannot be corrected by sense pleasures. And therefore, desire is a shatru, vihaya vairinam kamam. Having renounced the shatru, the desire, artham cha, and having renounced the unquenchable desire for wealth, artham cha. What is wealth? Anartha sankulam. It is a hoard of all problems. If you have desire for wealth, if you value the wealth, it has its value for survival. Wealth as a means of survival is not anartha sankulam, but wealth as the fulfiller of my life. Wealth as the fulfiller of my existence. If I look upon wealth as something that fulfills me, then it is anartha sankulam. A knife used for cutting vegetables is useful. But if it is used for knifing others, killing others, it is anartha sankulam. So the wealth has got, it is a blessing, it can also be a curse. That is determined by how I look at it. Not that is determined by the wealth itself, no. Wealth itself is very beautiful. You can use it for living. You can use it for your shelter, for your food, for your health. You can make the right use of it. But if I look upon the wealth as the fulfiller of my life, then it is anartha sankulam. Similarly, pleasure also. As a necessity for survival, it is not anartha sankulam. A desire is not anartha sankulam. If it is only meant for survival. If it is looked upon, desire is looked upon as the fulfiller of my desire fulfills my life. If I look upon it like that, then it is anartha sankulam. Any material objects looked upon as the means to fulfillment is anartha sankulam. Any material object used as a means to fulfillment is a anartha sankulam. Vihaya dharmamapi. Even dharma, ethics, they are necessary for survival. In order to live with others, I have to follow ethics. I have to follow the right conduct. I have to follow right values. Artha is wonderful for survival. Kama is wonderful for survival. Even dharma is necessary for survival. It is necessary. For sharira yatra they are necessary. But if I look upon dharma as the fulfiller of my life, as that which liberates me from my problem, as the eternal answer. If I look upon dharma as the eternal answer, please understand that my thinking makes the dharma anartha sankulam. Artha can become anartha sankulam. Desire can become anartha sankulam. Dharma also can become anartha sankulam if I view it as the fulfiller of my life. But here you can always understand, at least give your attention to me. Wealth cannot correct my wrong view about myself. To see this point. You have to see this. Views don't get corrected by objects. The sense of reality about the object itself is a wrong view, Ji. The very sense of reality about the body is a wrong view. The very sense of the need for pleasure is a wrong view. The very sense of need for desires, the very desire is due to a wrong view. My desire for wealth is due to a wrong view. My desire for pleasures is due to a wrong view. My need for ethics is also due to a wrong view, sir. And wrong view cannot be corrected by wealth, cannot be corrected by pleasures, cannot be corrected by even ethics. Goodness doesn't correct an error. Therefore, be good, but don't bank on it too much. In fact, don't bank on it at all. Not only you should not bank on others' goodness, you should not bank on your own goodness. Yes, that's not the answer. Dharmamapi etayoho hetum. Dharma is always looked upon as the hetu, the support for dharma, artha and kama. Earn wealth through dharma, enjoy wealth ethically, earn ethically, enjoy it ethically. That ethically is called dharma. Therefore, the means by which you earn your wealth and enjoy it is dharma. But even dharma looked upon as the answer is anartha sankulam. Hetum cha vihaya sarvatra anadaram kuru. Sarvatra, in every situation, understand them as not the answer. It's a very big thing. You are a very profound, you have to be a very deep thinker to understand ethics is not the answer. A great exposure to Vedanta, a very huge exposure to Vedanta, a long exposure to Vedanta may make you understand how even ethics, dharma is not the answer. Dharma is not the answer. To take a stand in support of ethics is very easy. Or some people say, I believe in ethics, some people say, I don't believe in ethics. These are ubad-kabad thinking. That has nothing to do with Vedanta. That is a layman's thinking. I believe in goodness, I don't believe in goodness, etc. That's not the thing. It's not the question of believing in goodness or not believing in goodness. What is important is the goodness, however great it is. Even if you are a good Samaritan, even if you are as good as Satya Harishchandra, even if you are as good as Rama, even if you are as good as Krishna, even if you are as good as Jesus Christ, it's not the answer to the fundamental problem. It is irrelevant. because man's wrong view. The unlimited is mistaken for the limited. When the unlimited is mistaken for the limited, that wrong view has to be corrected through right vision. Therefore, goodness also. Anadaram kuru means, just ignore it. You don't have to be, you should just effortlessly ignore them. You don't have to take a stand of indifference to them. Indifference is not a stand. If indifference also is a stand, then it becomes a problem. It's not the answer. It can never be the answer to anybody. It cannot be the answer to anybody. Artha cannot be the answer, kama cannot be the answer, dharma cannot be the answer. Therefore, ignore them. Ignoring them means what? Not that your mind should live in a state of limbo. Ignoring them means switch your attention from all of them to yourself. Ignore the wave means understand water. Ignore the false means understand the truth. Ignore the form means you don't live in just a state of ignoring. In fact, the moment you switch your attention to the substance, there is no thought of love for the form, nor the thought of ignoring of the form. There is only understanding. Thus, value dharma for survival, value artha for survival, value kama for survival. Don't look upon them as the answers. Don't build your spirituality on dharma. Don't build spirituality on artha and kama. Sometimes we build our spirituality with a false satisfaction that I am being spiritual. I build that spirituality on renouncing certain desires. Simple renunciation of a few desires, renunciation of all desires doesn't become spiritual. Switch your attention from the very topic of desire to your existence. Switch your attention from the very topic of artha to your existence. Switch your attention from the very topic of dharma to your existence. That is spirituality. When your attention is with your being, with the being, that is again not a big stand. That is, thinking about the being is not different from the being place. To think of silence is being silent. To be aware of silence means to be silent. To understand the truth is to be it. Knowing and being, understanding and being are one and the same. The tatparyam of understanding is being. Even though the word understanding brings in thought, etc., etc. The word understanding brings in thinking, etc., etc. A lot of mess. The words bring to our mind a certain mess. But otherwise, understanding the truth is being it. Like thinking of silence is not objectifying it, but being it. Thinking is being. Thinking of a tree is not being it, but thinking of the truth is being it. Thinking of the subject is being it. Because even before I think of my existence, even before I think of the being, I am already being. Even before the wave thinks of water, it is being water. Therefore, it is more in the form of discerning between the being and thinking. And thus discerning between being and thinking is not other than being. I am only being, not thinking. thinking identity is not a part of being. Thinking identity is an error. Being identity is to be is a motionless. To be is not a spatial point. To be is not a spatial point. Because every spatial point is perception, thought. One's own existence is the being. And therefore, sarvatra anadaram kuru. Don't really look upon any detail in the creation. Sarvatra means, technically, every place, every object and every time. Sarvatra. Sarvatra means sarveshu kaleshu, sarveshu desheshu, sarvasu avasthas. Every situation, every object, every moment, every bit of creation. Ignore it as the answer. But man, the moment he is born, he wants to accumulate a bit of creation to himself. He wants to accumulate a bit of creation. He wants to buy land even in Rajasthan desert. चलो 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 वहाँ पर आजकल सस्ता मिल रही है. Yes, this is something, this thinking needs to be understood. Jiva cannot think. If he is not a jignasu, if he doesn't want to know, then he is interested in accumulating. Even apara vidya is not vidya because it prompts you to accumulate. Paravidya is freedom from accumulation, aparigraha. Therefore, ignore everything. Don't really attach too much of importance to any bit of creation. Any bit of creation. Don't attach any importance. Conventions don't attach importance. Traditions are useful, they are just playthings. They are playthings. Conventions are playthings, Diwalis are playthings, marriages are playthings, children are playthings, everything is a plaything. And then you talk about things from this society. It is necessary to marry, it is necessary to have children. These are all just really from the society point of view. Fundamentally it's nothing. It's not the answer. That's all we can say. Creation is not the answer. What else it is not? Nothing else. It's not the answer, bas. It can't make me, even the entire creation can't make me peaceful. Peacefulness is the nature of the self. Even the entire creation cannot correct my wrong view about myself. Even Bhagavan cannot come and then with a magic wand can remove the error. Bhagavan Krishna cannot come and play flute and then the error will go away. Aisa nahi. He has to teach. The words, the prakriya has to be started. Shabda pramanam has to come. I must be taught to look into my experiences, to look at myself correctly. I must be taught the distinction between being and the panchakoshas, thinkings. I must be taught the distinction between my existence and what is observed by me, what is illumined by me, what is known by me. Therefore, if it were possible for Krishna to use his magic flute on Arjuna, he could have used it, Ji. Why did he have to face that, a mediocre student? to be teaching all the time to Arjuna. Arjuna samjho, please listen, please. And every time he says listen, he is already sleeping. Arjuna listen. Yes. A man who is a kshatriya, a warrior, has a lot of problems. Don't think a brilliant student, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. He was just an average student, was. At least whenever he was woken up, he woke up. That makes him an average student, not below average. Supposing you wake up a student and he doesn't wake up, then he is below average. But Arjuna was average because whenever he was woken up, he woke up. He could not use his magic flute on Arjuna. Why? Truth. A man needs to think about his existence. Existence is the truth. All my thinking presupposes my existence. Existence doesn't presuppose something. Everything presupposes existence. Therefore, look upon the entire creation. The only comment that one can make is, this is not the answer. That's Vairagya. Very correctly, one has to see it silently for once. One has to see it silently. This is not there. Even if I lived for 200 years, 2000 years, or 200,000 years, it is a length in time. It is not freedom from time. A length of time comes to an end. Freedom from time is our existence. Eternity. Therefore, Sarvatra anadaram kuru is a very beautiful phrase. Don't attach any importance to any bit of creation in this world. Any philosophy, any theology, any this, any that. If you have the strength, if you have the intelligence, use it to look at yourself. If you have the time in life, look at yourself. If you are relaxed, use your relaxation to look at your existence. In the beginning, even though your mind is not ready, you resist your own effort to look at yourself, but then make a beginning slowly. Remove the resistance. Look at your presence, your existence. You have to be there to be aware. Nor is one's existence an assemblage place. That also handle it. One's existence is not an assemblage. Body, senses, mind, intellect, all put together is called it creates an illusion of the I. That is all lies. I'll tell you how. The idea of I, the individual, is not the result of an assemblage. The idea of I, the individual, the illusion of the I, the individual, the idea of individuality or the illusion of individuality, the illusion of being an individual person is due to a conscious being in equation with the form. Adhyasa brings about an illusion. Assemblage doesn't bring an illusion. Assemblage doesn't create an illusion. An assemblage of physical things can't create something that is non-physical. And consciousness is non-physical. Why do you say it is non-physical? The one who is aware of the physical has to be non-physical. Swapne, and therefore the illusion of the individuality is not the result of assemblage. Adhyasa brings about the confusion of individuality. Dehoham is adhyasa. Equation brings about a sense of individuality, not assemblage. An assemblage doesn't create. An assemblage of physical things may bring about another physical chemical reaction. In every chemical reaction, the physical brings about physical reaction. The beetle leaves and the beetle and the lime, when you munch it, it creates redness. But redness also is physical, understand. This is the example that the Charvakas give. Just as pan ki patta, beetle nut and lime, when you munch them, when you eat them, when you masticate it, it creates a red color. In the same manner, the body, the senses, the mind, all these put together creates an illusion of the conscious being. I say consciousness is not physical. I understand chemical reactions are there. Reactions are there. Byproducts are there. Who says not? But the physical brings about a physical reaction. A physical assemblage doesn't bring about any non-physical thing. Consciousness is not an ordinary thing. To be aware is not an ordinary phenomenon. In fact, the Shruti says, Tat srishtva tadevanu pravishat. The very source becomes the seer of the universe. The source of the thought becomes the thinker of the thought. The source of the matter is aware of matter. Therefore, to be aware is a non-physical phenomenon. And therefore, what is non-physical is not a result of, it is not a result of a physical assemblage. Swapnendrajalavat pasya dinani trini panchavam mitra kshetra dhanagara dharadayadi sampadaham. Swapna indrajalavat pasya. Pasya means please see. How you see the swapna? It came. It's not real. It is not a fact that is there. It is dreamt. Indrajalam, like Vibgayar. What is it called? Rainbow. The rainbow. It is also a kind of dreamt. It's only a perception. Swapna indrajalavat pasya. Look at life as a dream. Look at life as a fading rainbow. And look at life as something that is there only for a few days. Dinani. Trini panchava. It is there only for 3-4 दिन या 4-5 दिन. Either you say it 3-4 दिन या 2-3 दिन या 1-आधा दिन 1-2 दिन 2-3 दिन 3-4 दिन या 4-5 दिन या 5-6 दिन. बस इतना ही है. त्रीणिवा पंचवा. Life is there only for a few days. It's not a long thing. You know, when you think about these fossils, Do you know what these scientists say? It is 15 million years old fossil. 15 million years old. And how many years does man live? Effectively 10 years. Yes. He is only in the prime of life for 10 years he may be there. It's all right. Even if he is all right for 100 years, 100 years is nothing in comparison to 15 million. Always contrast between unending time and freedom from time. Freedom from time is the nature of the being. Whereas an individual lives in time, objects are in time, they are always perceived. Anything that is subject to become memory is in time. An object can become memory, but your existence doesn't become memory. What is not supposed to become, what never becomes a memory, is timeless. What is subject to become memory? It is in time. These objects they are subject to become memories. And they are in time. I can think of Mahabharata war. I can even speculate it happened in the past. Because every event is subject to become memory. Every object is subject to become memory. The creation itself can become subject to become memory, meaning it can come to an end. But I cannot become an object of my own memory. Subject can never become memory. Think about this. You cannot become memory. I was there yesterday. Swamiji, is it not memory? Your individuality is becoming a memory, not your existence. You are there right now. And when you wake up, your existence doesn't become memory. The dreamerness becomes memory. When you go to the deep sleep state, your wakingness becomes memory and faded out memory. It's gone. The dreamerness is gone. The wakerness is gone. But your existence doesn't become memory. Understand this. One's existence is not in time. One's existence doesn't become memory. Therefore, discern between the time-free, timeless existence of yours and this so-called eventful life. For how long? Few days. It's a few days life. 3 दिन 4 दिन की चांदनी फिर वही अंधेरा हुई से. Only in India it is possible, because in India, Indians they are more prone to thinking about the eternal. अध्यात्म विद्या में इनको मन लगता है. That is the sanskara. Anyway, स्वप्नेन्द्रजालवत् पश्य दिनानि त्रीणि पंचवा. Look at this time itself as dreamt. Look at life as dreamt. Look at life as just short-lived. Whereas, look at your existence as eternal. Mitra, friends. Kshetra, land. Dhana, wealth. Agara, mansion, house. Dara, wife. dayadi, cousins, sampada, the wealth of friends, the wealth of land, the wealth of money, the wealth of the house, the wealth of the family, the wealth of the bandhu bandhavas, cousins, all that may look at it as only dreamt. And that is you have relationship with all of them only for a few days. All of them are your possessions. When you have them, they are dreamt. But in time, even that dreamt relationship is not. It has laya. Like the dream, to begin with, even when I am dreaming it, it is a dream. And afterwards, very shortly, it has what? Laya. There is nothing that can continue. It has a laya. My entire life has laya. Mitra, kshetra, dhanagara, dara, dayadi, sampada. Thus look upon life as swapna. Look upon it as short-lived. Look upon all the possessions that you have, any kind of possession, is a dreamt possession and it is non-eternal. Every possession is dreamt and it is non-eternal. Why it is non-eternal? Because it has laya. Like yesterday has got laya. Every moment has srishti and it has laya. The morning became manifest and it became unmanifest. Now this hour is manifest and next hour the same hour becomes unmanifest. Therefore this manifest and unmanifest itself is what is called srishti and laya. Therefore all our possessions, when we have them, they are there as dreamt, and in time they have laya. All right, Swamiji, if I think about all these things as dreamt and short-lived, what is it? See, don't keep dwelling on that fact unnecessarily. Switch your attention from the dreamt to the undreamt. Switch your attention from the short-lived to the eternal. That is the tatparyam. Think of the world as dreamt means think of the undreamt, your existence. Bring your attention back to your being. Thinking about the non-eternity of the world means not that every day you get up and start thinking about it. It will make you depressed. Thinking about the non-eternity of the world means thinking about how am I eternal? How am I not a part of the non-eternal? Discern between the non-eternal and the eternal. Nitya anitya vastu viveka. Discerning between one's existence, the eternal and the non-eternal. Thus, you don't have to go on dwelling upon the dreamtness of the world or the short-lived nature of the world. Don't go on dwelling on the irrelevant details of the universe. Don't go about counting the stripes on the snake. It will make you sad. That's why some people are right when they say, every time you talk about the non-eternity of the world, it is too depressing. You say the wealth is non-eternal, the children are non-eternal, bandhus are non-eternal, friends are non-eternal, wealth is non-eternal, house is non-eternal. It is very depressing. Naturally, if you go on dwelling on the limitations of the world, you may call it vairagyam, but otherwise it can be very depressing. Why do you have to dwell upon the demerits of the world? एक बार समझ लिया. You don't have to dwell on it. But the occupation should be occupied with seeing the difference between the non-eternal form and the eternal being, the non-eternal thought and the eternal being. Let the viveka be the occupation. Not focusing on the negative qualities of the world. Don't dwell on the world. Sometimes if you go on dwelling upon the Rasagulla, it's not good, it's not good, it's not good. You may fall for it, I know. Who knows it, dwelling upon the Rasagulla? Even though you are thinking it is not good for me, it is not. Alright, if it is not good for me, think something else. If you go on thinking about the Rasagullas, thinking that it is not good for me, suddenly you may conclude that it is good for you. And you may fall for them. Don't dwell on the objects, please. Understand them for good, that they are not the answer, bus. You don't have to be elaborate about them also. That it is a perception. Determine it, that is enough. Understand that it is only a perception. An object is not an object, it is a perception. In the truth. It's a perception about the truth. Object includes the individual seer of it also. Me as an individual seer of it, the senses, the medium of perception, the perceiverness, the medium of perception, and perception, this entire realm is a perception about the truth in the truth. Pramatru, Pramana, Prameya, Bhava, this Triputi. Therefore, don't dwell on the demerits of the world. Use it for survival and then have the topic of your existence in life. Make your existence the topic of life. Yatra yatra bhave trishna sansaram vidhi tatra vai praudha vairagyam ashritya vita trishnaha sukhi bhava. Yatra yatra bhave trishna. Wherever you have desire, meaning any object, whichever object which attracts you, for which you have desire. Yatra yatra bhavet trishna. Any object for which you have a craving. Sansaram vidhi. Craving means it is a part of sansara. Sansaram vidhi tatra vai. You are going to get into trouble there. Whenever you have craving, you are going to get into trouble there. Craving is a part of sansara. Desire is a part of sansara. And sansara is the result of avidya. The fundamental reason for desire, the fundamental reason for craving, the sansara, is avidya. That is there. But inside the avidya, what drives me is the desire, the craving. The craving drives me. What drives me is not even the objects which I look upon as a means for survival. When I look upon the object as a fulfiller of my life, it drives me. If I look upon wealth as the fulfiller of my life, as the fulfiller of my existence, then it starts driving. Any misconception drives me. That is the thing. Any small misconception drives me. If I have a misconception about my wife, it drives me. If I have a misconception about my children, it drives me. In fact, it is the misconception. Misconception or misconception born desire. Misconception born craving drives me. Simple desire, you go to your office to make little, to eke out your survival, it doesn't drive you. Survival doesn't drive you, please. I don't think Sharira Yatra doesn't drive you. But in Sharira Yatra, there are so many misconceptions. He is making more money, I am making less money. That drives you. That is a misconception. Why should you bother about who makes what? You do your work for your survival. Somebody has something more. When you make a comparison, it comes under a misconception. Any misconception drives you. You are coming to the classes. There are some people who learn Sanskrit and some people don't learn Sanskrit. Oh my God, that person has got Sanskrit, I don't have. It's a misconception. Even if having Sanskrit is not the answer, having no Sanskrit also is not the answer. Understanding yourself is the answer. For which you may have Sanskrit, you may not have Sanskrit. Sanskrit is not something unavoidably essential. It is good to have, but it doesn't mean without that you can't know the truth. The evidence of the truth is not in terms of Sanskrit. The evidence of truth is not in terms of any Sanskrit or anything. Even an Eskimo says, I am there. Therefore, don't be childish in thinking. Don't make childish comparisons. And every comparison is a misconception. And it drives you. It makes you restless. It makes you a little anxious. It makes you a little unhappy. Any misconception, any comparison. Any comparison is a misconception. He has more money, I have less money. Or he has less money, I have more money. Drives me. It excites me. That is also a kind of being driven. There is no use of saying, don't listen to this advice. At least Vedantis need not take this advice. Don't compare yourself with your superiors, you will feel depressed. Compare yourself with your inferiors. You will be always happy. Why? Any comparison is a misconception. And once you compare yourself with your inferiors, you will be egoistic. Your attitude towards them will not be very desirable. Therefore, yatra yatra bhave trishna, wherever there is craving for fulfillment, sansaram vidhi tatra, understand that it is a sansara. You can have a craving for survival, not craving for moksha. You can't have a desire for moksha. Praudha vairagyam ashritya. Praudha vairagyam means vairagyam. Praudha vairagyam means vairagyam through right understanding. It's called Praudha vairagyam. A scholar's vairagyam. A sage's vairagyam. An intelligent man's vairagyam. He uses them for survival. Like Janaka lived in his kingdom, he lived in his palace, but yet he was a virakta. He was a virakta. And what is that vairagyam? Praudha vairagyam. Supposing you have no clothes, It is a simplistic vairagya. Deny yourself clothes, it is a simplistic vairagya. Deny yourself food, simplistic vairagya. Live on something very small. Live a life that is enmeshes you. Self-denial is simplistic vairagya. It is simplistic. You live your life correctly because you need to live on to know the truth. You don't have to deny things to yourself. And yet you know it's not the answer. That is Prauda Vairagya. I use the creation to live, but I know the creation is not the answer. That is Prauda Vairagya. Prauda Vairagyam ashritya, taking to Prauda Vairagyam, Vita Trishnaha, having been free, being free from Trishna, the desire, Sukhi Bhava, be happy. He says, free from cravings for fulfillment in them. Don't expect any object to give you fulfillment. So if an object can't give me fulfillment, then I have no craving for it. I look at the objects as a means of survival, not as a means of fulfillment. It is a means of, the physical can sustain the physical. The annam can sustain the annam. As long as the body is alive, it eats, and later on it is eaten. Till the age of 50 or 60, you eat, and afterwards you are eaten. Food. That's why what we eat is annam. What eats also is annam, please. Annam sustains annam. But annam has no links with the Atma. ये सारी बातें समझ के then Sukhi Bhava. Understand clearly what is relevant to what. Clear, ji? Next verse. Trishna matratmako bandhaham tannasho moksha uchyate bhava sansakti matrena prapta trishti prapta tushtir muhurmuhu. It should be prapta, not prapti. Prapta tushti. Trishna matratmaka. In a simple way of saying, craving. Trishna matratmakaha. Expecting a fulfillment from this world. Expecting fulfillment from this world, called Trishna, the craving. Expecting fulfillment or expecting happiness from the world, expecting happiness from the people. Bandha is called bondage. It is a wrong expectation. You know, perform action and don't expect result. The word expectation can be looked at more fundamentally. In fact, man, every expectation that he has is a wrong expectation. Fundamentally, his expectation is wrong. He expects to be happy through the objects. That is a wrong expectation. He expects to be happy through the world. That is a wrong expectation. And the result of wrong expectation is frustration. Therefore, this is what, even though the avidya is not said here, Trishna matratmaka. In a simple way of saying is, wrong expectation is bondage, tannashaha, and freedom from wrong expectation. Moksha uchyate is called moksha. And in order not to have wrong expectation, you have to do a lot of thinking. It's not easy to give an advice, don't have wrong expectation. And he says, okay. Is it going to be so easy? To be free from a wrong expectation in life means you have to study a lot. You have to think a lot. I can expect the food to appease my hunger, but I can't expect the food to make me happy. And man eats food for fulfillment. Man has pleasures for fulfillment. And their fulfillment means fullness. Therefore, wrong expectations cannot be avoided without comprehensive education, comprehensive Vedantic exposure. Bhava asansakti matrena. Bhava means sansara. Asansakti means non-attachment. Non-attachment to the worldly things. Prapta tushti. A person gets tushti. Muhurmuhu again and again. A man gets satisfaction by mere detachment to the worldly things. It also, that very detachment to the worldly things gives you some satisfaction, some relative satisfaction. Whenever we talk about relative satisfaction, relative happiness, relative peace, relative relaxation, please, I am not looking upon the relative happiness as the result of relative pleasure. Relative happiness is nothing but the absolute happiness felt as relative when certain unhappiness resolves. Certain unpleasant thoughts resolve. And in the context of a sense pleasure, certain painful thoughts resolve. When certain painful thoughts resolve, then you have relative happiness. That relative peace is none other than absolute peace, registered relatively, registered in the context of the resolution of unpleasant thoughts. And therefore it is dissociation with dukkha. Dissociation with dukkha. Dukkha laya is what is called a relative satisfaction. Dukkha laya. Whereas the absolute peace is the nature of the self. And the relative peace cannot be other than that nature. It is the same absolute peace in the context of avidya, registered as conditional. Conditional to the resolution of the dukkha is the experience of relative peace. And if the dukkham has to have laya, then I go for indriya sukham. So indriya sukham is the condition for the dukkha laya, and the dukkha laya becomes the condition for registering the relative sukham. And that relative sukham is none other than the absolute sukham, but in the context of avidya, it is registered as conditional to dukkhalaya. It is not the result of dukkhalaya. It is registered when there is dukkhalaya. It is not the result of dukkhalaya. Relative sukham is none other than absolute Sukham, registered in the context of the Dukkha-laya. And the Dukkha-laya has the condition, Dukkha-laya takes place in the context of the Indriya Sukham. Man goes for Indriya Sukham. Why? Because Indriya Sukham makes the Dukkha resolve. And when the Dukkha resolves, whatever little Dukkha resolves, then there is Sukha Anubhava. And that is relative Sukha Anubhava. A relative Sukha is none other than the absolute Sukha, which is the nature of the self, but it is registered, conditional to it. Whereas in Vedanta we say the Sukham is absolute by nature, just as you can't have a sizable space. You can't have a relative space, less pervasive space. Space, once we say, it is boundless. Space by nature is unlimited. I may perceive a chunk of it. I may perceive a chunk of space. Similarly, peace by nature is unlimited. Sukham by nature is timeless, unlimited. Sukham by nature is the nature of the being. But I may perceive a chunk of it, meaning a relativeness of it. I may not understand it. And therefore, anyway, Sukham is not the result of an object, nor is it the result of Dukkha Laya. Sukham is not a result, please. Sukham is the nature of man. Any comfort is the nature of the being. Any peace is the nature of the being. Any happiness is the nature of the being. It's all really registered when some dukkha vika has laya. And dukkha has the condition, when dukkha laya has the condition called indriya, sense indulgence. Okay, you will see it later on. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So tomorrow